Hi, I'm Kristen Oaks White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. My partner, Avery Davidson, has the week off. While those in Louisiana are working to rebuild homes and businesses in the wake of the historic flooding that impacted the state in August, lawmakers are also working hard at the nation's capital to get the state some much-needed financial assistance. TWILA's Carl Wiggers traveled to Washington, D.C. last week and has more on this developing story.
While Americans are focused on electing a new president, congressmen in Washington are working hard to approve funding for the federal government through the end of this fiscal year. Dr. Ralph Abraham, representing the 5th District of Louisiana, is helping to make sure disaster relief funds for Louisiana are included.
The governor and the delegation, all united, has come to Congress and asked for $2.8 billion. The president has kind of parlayed that into a $2.6 billion ask, which is okay, we'll take it. We will vote, hopefully this week, on a CR that will come from the Senate. We're not going to get all the $2.6 billion on this ask, but we will certainly get something.
Right now, that something looks like $500 million, which would be like a down payment to the state. Abraham says the rest should come in the omnibus bill that will happen later in December. While this is promising, he is not sure that the continuing resolution considers the impact of this disaster on Louisiana farmers.
My concern is that agriculture in the CR money does come up short. And, that's not acceptable. We need to continue to push because we all know how important agriculture is, not only in the 5th District, but in the entire state of Louisiana.
This visible damage that litters streets in Baton Rouge acts as a constant reminder to residents of the horrific flooding that hit Louisiana. However, damage in agriculture has a different look.
People see the green fields, they see the combines and the cotton pickers in the field, and they assume that everything is just fine. Well, it's not. And this is the message that we, as a delegation, certainly myself, will continue to relay that message that this is not over. Damage is still being assessed, and until the first of the year, we're not going to really know how much agriculture has been affected.
Farmers have had to harvest what crops remain, some losing as much as half of their crop as a result of the flooding. For those farmers, as well as the residents with debris in their street, getting this money from Congress is critical to their recovery.
These floods in Louisiana, the March and the August floods, these are yesterday events. These are very recent. And these people that are trying to recover from these flooding events are still living in homes that possibly are growing mold. They're still having businesses that they can't go to because they're unusable. We need the money now, because if we don't, bankruptcies will occur in businesses and in private homes. People will leave Louisiana because they have no job to go to, and unfortunately they won't come back. This is what this money can do right now. It can save, hopefully, most, if not all, those events from taking place.
From Washington, D.C., I'm Carl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Though the politics are difficult right now, Congressman Abraham is confident Louisiana will still get the help we so desperately need. The vote to approve this continuing resolution should happen any day now. For the most current information on this situation, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. Louisiana has 6 representatives and 2 senators in Congress who represent nearly 4.5 million people. That means the voters who meet with those congressmen can really have an impact on how they vote. That's why the LSU Ag Leadership Program takes its class members to Washington, D.C. to meet with those congressmen. This time, it's Class 15's turn. For some in this class, it's their first time in the nation's capital and their first chance to see the congressional process at work. Louisiana Farm Bureau member Catherine Floyd says this experience is important for future ag leaders to know that they have a voice that can influence the law of the land.
Don't be shy. Don't feel that no one will hear you, because they will, and don't hold back. If you have a passion for what you do, voice it and show it, and and show others. Don't assume that it just, maybe your thoughts don't count or your opinion doesn't matter, because everyone's does.
Participate, yell, and contact your legislators. Reach out and share your perspective with them. And I urge everybody to do that. And a lot of people, they forget the fact that we're supposed to be representing it. If we're just stuck in a vacuum, we're not representing anyone but ourselves. It's critical that we have that dialogue both ways.
The LSU Ag Leadership class will be meeting again next week in Monroe. To learn more about the Ag Leadership program, visit our website at twilatv.org. Louisiana rice farmers are helping victims of the recent flood. Here you see workers at Falcon Rice Mill in Crowley loading 15 tons of rice into a truck. All of that rice is going to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, which was hard hit in the August flood. The Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank took on 4 feet of water in its 170,000-foot warehouse. This donation of rice will provide more than 350,000 servings of cooked rice to people in need. Joining Falcon Rice in the donation of Louisiana Rice Mill of Crowley, Planters Rice Mill of Abbeville, and Farmers Rice Mill of Lake Charles. The USA Rice Federation and the USA Rice staff organized this donation as part of the National Rice Month and Hunger Action Month. Louisiana Rice Promotion Board Chairman Kevin Birkin says despite rice growers being among the victims of the flood, farmers and the mills gave more than ever before.
This year, even with the floods, even with everything that went on, our growers and our mills stepped up to give rice back to those who are less fortunate, and actually doubled what we typically have been giving. So it's a wonderful thing and it was wonderful to be a part of a community who was so willing to do that.
Last year, the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank provided about 8.7 million meals to people in 11 parishes. If you would like to help the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank in its time of need, or to learn more about the USA Rice Federation, log on to our website at twilatv.org. Well, still to come on TWILA, a little Southern comfort food for you, this time from Shreveport. AJ Sabine is cooking up something good for you when we come back. Stay with us. Well, I hope you brought your appetite back from that commercial break. On this month's Feasting on Agriculture, our very own AJ Sabine drives up to Shreveport for a taste of blue with Louisiana crawfish, satisfying his and our comfort food fix.
Feasting on Agriculture with AJ Sabine is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Think Rice, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to another exciting episode of Feasting on Agriculture. This month, we're in Shreveport at Blue Southern Comfort, where every dish is like a hug. Let's get inside and get cooking. Joining us now is Chef Carolyn Simmons from Blue Southern Comfort, and want to thank you for having us here at your restaurant. What are we making today, Chef?
Today we're going to make a crispy skin trout, and we're going to put a crawfish cream topping on top of it.
I cannot wait. You've kind of talked about the recipe, and I know there's rosemary in it, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. And do you want me to kind of give you the history of the recipe real quick?
Sure.
Okay. We have a comfort food restaurant, and people kept wanting a fried fish, and I'm not a fan of fried food at all. So what I did is I took a trout with the skin on it, and I heat the oil up, and I fry that skin, so it gives them a crunch, so they feel like they're getting fried fish, but they're actually getting a very healthy fish, and it's a rainbow trout. And then we have to include some Louisiana crawfish on top of it.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Okay, cool. All right, the first thing we need to do is, because we grow our own rosemary and a lot of our own herbs out front, and we use a lot of rosemary, but we have to chop it up. So I pulled it off, and I don't feel like chopping. I'm gonna let you. So what I want you to do is take this and just chop it up a little bit finer, okay? And we're gonna use this on our trout.
It's such a fragrant herb. That's the thing I love about rosemary, is it's so fragrant. I mean, it's like a perfume. Isn't there some Wikipedia thing that Egyptians used to use rosemary for perfume or something?
I think the Egyptians used it for a lot of stuff. It was part of their embalming too. You hear they try to make everything smell good.
Well, yeah. I mean, in that particular, it's not like the pyramid was enough. I mean, you got to have perfume to go with it.
So wait a second. Here. There. his perfume. I'm perfumed with
thank
rosemary.
you.
Okay,
Thank
now
you.
you'll smell good all day.
Now all the ladies of Shreveport will follow me wherever I go.
That's exactly. Well, they would do that anyway. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. So how small you want me to get down on
That
it?
is absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're going to do now that we've got that, we also, we put this on at the end. It doesn't give it a lot of chance to give it much flavor.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've taken some olive oil, and I had already pre-chopped a little bit, and I heated it up, and then I let it sit and seep, and it's been sitting here for about 45 minutes. So this olive oil has the flavor of rosemary.
Oh, great.
Each morning, we start the morning making a shrimp stock with our shrimp shells after we peel our shrimp.
Now, shrimp stock isn't that hard to make. It's basically shrimp shells.
We cook the shrimp shells in butter and in garlic. And then once they turn pink, then we add chicken broth to them, and we add some Great Raft beer. There's a local brewery called Great Raft. We put some of their beer in it, put a little Worcestershire sauce. We squeeze some lemon juice.
Can I just take that by itself?
Yeah, here, you would just have soup from it. And then we put a little bit of green onion, and we simmer it, and then when we strain it, this is the end result.
You have a wonderful, wonderful origin story. Tell folks about how you got your start at the farmers market.
Well, I wanted to be a chef when I was younger, and I became an economist, and then I became a real estate agent. And at 56, my business kind of fell apart. The economy went bad, and I lost everything. So I said, it's time to do what I've always wanted to do. So I started selling food at the farmers market, and I started over. And people would buy my food, and they started saying, hey, will you come cater this party? Will you do this? So I'm 60 years old now, and I'm on my second restaurant, and I'm about to open another restaurant, all from just 4 years ago, saying, I'm going to live my dream and do what I want to do.
Why is it important for you to partner with, farmers like Craig Smith and Smith Family Farmers? Why is that important to you?
I think because I started over and created a small local business, I want other small local businesses to thrive. So about half of what we sell here comes from local vendors, local ranchers, local farmers. And I always tell my customers, when you eat at Blue, you're helping our local ranchers and farmers survive. What we're doing here is we've got the heavy cream from Flowing Hills Creamery, and I've got some herbs in it, and I'm reducing it. And then I took my shrimp stock and I added some ground tomatoes. These tomatoes don't have any salt, they don't have anything in there. It's 100% tomato. And I'm reducing that together. We're going to take some of this rosemary infused olive oil, and we're going to put some butter in it because butter makes everything taste better. And I'm going to put my trout in skin side down. Whoops. I know, it's always easier when no one's watching you. And see how my trout is starting to turn white around the edges? When it's mainly white, but a little bit of pink up top, at that point, it's going to be done. But I've also got my heat turned down to medium, so we no longer need high. And I'm going to add the cream.
The cream smells wonderful, by the way. You can smell the herbs right off the top. I mean, it's got a beautiful oniony, rosemary note as soon as you pour it into the tomato base.
So I'm going to take these Louisiana crawfish, and I'm going to pour them into this sauce. And they're going to take about 2 minutes to cook in the sauce.
You mentioned Louisiana crawfish. Folks can go to crawfish.org and have fresh Louisiana crawfish delivered right to their door.
Really?
Yes.
That is really cool. Remember, this oil has a lot of rosemary flavor, so we don't want to lose that flavor. You see I'm basting the top of this? I'm going to flip it with my flipper.
All right.
So I'm going to flip it as soon as there's just a little line of pink left, okay?
Okay.
So right now, we're just going to keep basting it.
I like doing these segments, Chef, because I get to work. I get to learn different techniques.
What you do is you're going to hold on to this, and you're going to see how long this is like the fish.
Yes.
So you're going to stick it under the fish, and you're going to flip it quickly, and then you're going to flip the other one.
How's my technique, Chef?
Here, let me show you. What you do is you actually start at one end, and you go underneath it. So you're lifting more of the fish, so it's less likely to break. And then the minute it flips, it's actually done.
Really?
Because we were pretty much done before. So putting it that last moment in hot oil is letting it finish up. You see?
That's pretty.
And here's our fried underneath. Look at this sauce. We're going to take this amazing sauce with the rosemary and the crawfish and all the herbs in it.
There you have it, folks. This beautiful Louisiana crawfish and trout dish. Stick around. We'll be right back. You know, folks, one of the telltale signs of an Eat Fresh, Eat Local restaurant is an herb garden. Chef Carolyn Simmons grows her own rosemary, and this is some of the same rosemary I cut up not long ago. And speaking of cutting up, let's get inside and cut up some of that trout with Chef Carolyn. Now, folks, you all know this is my favorite part of the Feasting on Agriculture segment. Chef, I want to thank you again. Where do I start? This looks absolutely beautiful.
Well,
You're going to have some with me, aren't you?
Of course, of course. If I wouldn't cook it if I didn't love it. What you want to do is you want to grab a bite, cut some trout, make sure you get some of that great Louisiana crawfish in there. And
you can hear the crunch from that skin, which we talked about. I'm going to get some of this crawfish on here.
Definitely get some crawfish.
Because this smells really good. You can smell that rosemary too. White, flaky, sweet with the crawfish. Very good. You got to have some.
Yes, I'll try it.
So good.
Let me cut it real quick.
There you go.
That crispy skin, you can't cut it.
No, I got some nice.
Yeah, you got some wine, so you cut the blue. It will help you get your food down.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, Chef Carolyn Simmons from Blue Southern Comfort, I want to say thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, it's our pleasure, believe me. And if you folks at home want more information about Blue or Louisiana crawfish, you can always log on to our website at twilatv.org. That's it for this Feasting on Agriculture. See you next time.
Feasting on Agriculture with A.J. Sabine was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, Ask Before You Eat, by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, Think Rice, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Now it's time for this week's Trending on TWILA segment, where we go online to see what people are saying about agriculture on social media. The first official debate of the 2016 election season had most of us talking online this week. So who won the debate? Well, it depends on who you ask. But if you ask me, social media did in a landslide. While presidential candidates Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump slugged it out on the debate stage, viewers kept up a loud and raucous conversation on Facebook and Twitter. The social media networks racked up huge numbers of posts and tweets during that time. Social media has become the ring in which the debate narratives are wrestled out and judged. According to NBC's Twitter analysis, Trump generated 62% of the Twitter conversation, while Clinton generated 38%. On Tuesday, the hashtag #TrumpWon was the top trending topic on Twitter. While not a topic on the main debate stage, American Farm Bureau took to Twitter to highlight where the candidates stand on agricultural-related issues with the hashtag #VoteForAg. The Washington Post published an article online titled, "Tom Vilsack's Lonely Fight for a Forgotten Rural America." The U.S. Secretary of Agriculture says agriculture is too often ignored in Washington politics. We posted a link to that article and info about where the candidates stand on ag issues on our website at twilatv.org. And to round out this week's Trending on TWILA, September 28th was National Drink a Beer Day, and rice growers were urging Americans to celebrate the holiday by cracking open a cold one. Delta Farm Press tweeted an article explaining that much of the rice that goes into American beer is grown in the Mid-South. Well, hope you did something to celebrate. Moving on to this week's TWILA trivia. Last time our question was, okra and filet are usually added to gumbo recipes for what reason? And the correct answer is B, a thickening agent. This week's trivia question is, which former U.S. president did not have ties to a farm or ranch? Is it A, John F. Kennedy, B. Lyndon B. Johnson, or C. Harry Truman? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILA Trivia, or you can always submit your answer on our website at twilatv.org. As we're moving into October, it's hard to believe that nearly 2 months have gone by since those most recent floods. Earlier in the show, we talked about all the relief efforts still going on for this year's flooding. Neil Melanson now joins us for this week's Bottom Line. And Neil, those relief efforts are still going on because a lot of people, especially in South Louisiana, are still trying to pick up the pieces from this most recent flood.
They are, and literally they're trying to pick up these pieces. Last week we showed you that the crew from the Walker FFA was delivering some flood relief to people through Farm Bureau's hay clearinghouse. Now that's winding down, but there are still a few folks who are still feeding their cattle from hay as those pastures continue to green up. You might remember Jerry Sibley from that FFA story, the oil field worker who helped deliver and unload that hay. His daughter Amy has the horses that Jerry used to rescue more than 200 head of cattle caught in the August flood. Amy is a member of the Cross Creek Cowboy Church in Zachary, which also coordinated hay donations for many of its members. Pastor Josh Morris said new hay was necessary due to the filth in those flood waters.
I mean, people lost gobs of hay that is normally set on the ground in a pasture somewhere. Well, that pasture got flooded, and so that hay got full of mud and junk and nasty stuff, you know, coming from sewage and all that jazz. And so, you know, they lost all their hay.
Morris said he saw losses on a massive scale, but even the small losses are devastating for this area.
I've heard of people losing as many as 300 head of cows. Some not as much, I mean, but, you know, some families are only farming, the average family in Louisiana is farming 35 to 40 head. And so you lose 10 to 15 cows in a flood, and you've lost that's pretty good substantial, not just the cows, but calves.
Now, as I went to talk to Amy Sibley, it was originally about her horses, which were used to rescue those cattle. As we toured Livingston Parish, though, it became clear why this disaster has hung around for so long in so many of these rural areas, even in neighborhoods. There are very few resources for many of these folks who aren't living in much better conditions since immediately after the flood.
In this particular community that I'm standing in, people got 1.5 feet to 2 feet of water in their home, and they're still living in those homes. They've taken out the bare necessities that they could afford, but they're still sleeping on molded mattresses that were soaked and saturated. Their homes, they haven't been able to gut them because they do not have the funds or the means to do so. Families are needing medication because they're getting sick from being in these conditions, and they're asking people to help them. And simply, we can't provide some of the necessities.
The bottom line is we need that aid to help agriculture and regular people alike to get back on their feet. One estimate I saw is that 30 to 40% of businesses in Livingston Parish alone won't be reopening. That's a devastating economic impact that's going to haunt this area for many years to come. And Kristen, you know, talking to Amy, she had 2 horses in particular. One was used in that flood to rescue those cattle. From the flanks down, it had chemical burns, and that was just from the water. That's how nasty it was. The other that really showed the impact of this flood, it was in a pasture just feeding. The flood waters came in. 1,200-pound horse, the waters rolled that horse completely over a barbed wire fence, and it had cuts all down its side. And so, I mean, it's just, you know, a tale of 2 horses really, but it just shows how bad this flood is.
It's amazing, you know, that from so many different things that people talked about, how damaging the floodwaters were, not just to homes, but like, for example, the Ag Center said, if you had a home garden that was sustained flood damage, you can't eat any of those vegetables. Now, who would have thought that? I wouldn't have, but,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's just all that nasty water, and you don't think about it too much, but man, keep your kids out of that stuff for sure.
Gosh, well, it was a devastating event, and we're going to be cleaning this up for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Great story, Neil Melanson. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week for 4-H Week. We'll be celebrating this service organization all week long. Plus, Carl Wiggers takes a look at some homegrown Louisiana ag patents helping our state grow. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.